The Senkaku Islands are a group of uninhabited islands controlled by Japan in the East China Sea. Japan's sovereignty over the territory is disputed by China. This flashpoint could result in an all-out confrontation between Japan and China, with China being the aggressor. In recent years, China has paid significant attention to its military. China's defense budget has increased tenfold in the last 25 years, which has funded the construction of an ocean-going navy, a modern army and an efficient air force. In particular, Chinese Navy has been strengthened to a large extent with recently fielded aircraft carrier, Liaoning, as well as fleets of submarines, destroyers, frigates, corvettes, replenishment ships, and amphibious assault ships. In this video, we will analyze how USA and India can help Japan in thwarting any Chinese aggression. The Chinese military is an impressive force, but local geography will create challenges during wartime. Japan controls a string of islands that form the Miyako Strait, which Chinese naval forces must transit to enter the Western Pacific. Properly fortified, the Japanese-held Ryukyu Islands could conceivably block passage of the strait altogether. Japan could use the Aquilus Islands to execute an anti-access, area denial plan in the Miyako Strait. Like any good A2AD strategy, such a plan in the strait would require a fraction of the spending necessary to overcome it. Japan's self-defense forces will initiate the following steps to counter China. 1. The radar network consisting of an TPY-2 radars would stand guard against ballistic missile attacks by the 2nd Artillery Corps of China. This would be backed up by the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Forces BMD, ballistic missile defense, capable cruisers and destroyers, of which there are currently 4. 2. Patriot PAC-2 and PAC-3 interceptors would provide point defense against aircraft and ballistic missiles respectively. 3. Japan's fleet of 16 submarines is in the process of being increased to 22. They will be the most effective active defense. The submarine fleet, composed of the newer Soryu and older Oyashio-class diesel-electric submarines, is one of the most professional and technologically advanced in the world. This would pit Japan's strength in submarine warfare against Chinese weaknesses in anti-submarine warfare. 4. Operating from Okinawa and Kyushu, Japan's fleet of E-767 and E-2D early warning aircraft would detect enemy fighters and direct the air battle. F-15J fighters would be vectored to intercept Chinese fighters. The F-15Js would also be tasked with destroying China's airborne early warning and tanker aircrafts. 5. Japan has several batteries of Type 88 missiles, which mount 6 missiles per transporter truck. The Type 88 has a range of nearly 100 miles, meaning that missiles mounted on Mikojima and Okinawa would overlap in range, completely covering the strait. This defensive configuration will be able to absorb the initial Chinese onslaught, and provide enough time to USA and India to get involved. USA is bound by the Treaty of Mutual Cooperation and Security to help Japan. For the convenience of viewers, here is a brief details of the agreement. The treaty was first signed in 1952, and was updated many times after that. Since Japan was disarmed after World War II, USA through this treaty, agreed to come to Japan's aid in case Japan was attacked by any other country. Under the treaty, both parties assumed an obligation to maintain and develop their capacities to resist armed attack in common, and to assist each other in case of military attack on territories under Japanese administration. To support that requirement, it provided for the continued presence of U.S. military bases in Japan. The United States Forces Japan, USFJ, is an active subordinate unified command of the United States Pacific Command, USPACOM. USFJ will swing into action and initiate encrypted communication to activate the security protocol. This will set rolling the following. 1. The Pentagon has designed a new strategy for the 21st century, called Air-Sea Battle, a concept that combines air and naval forces to punch through the increasingly formidable defenses of nations like China. 2. An important part of Air-Sea Battle calls for the military to operate from small, bare-bone bases in the Pacific, so that its forces can disperse to in case their main bases are targeted by Chinese ballistic missiles. 3. US will activate its forces in these bases, and send its fighters to defend Japan's airspace. 4. Carrier Strike Group, Commander Fleet Activities Yokosuka, which is based out of Japan, will be activated, and it will initiate active defensive positioning to counter Chinese Navy and Air Force. 5. US Air Force will send an Airborne Warning and Control System, AWACS, to monitor the skies, and relay minute-by-minute information to Japan and India. 6. Chinese Navy has large number of surface ships as well as submarines. The P-8 Poseidon is developed for the United States Navy by Boeing. It conducts anti-submarine warfare, ASW, anti-surface warfare, ASUW, and shipping interdiction, along with an electronic signals intelligence role. It is equipped with Raytheon APY-10 multi-mission surface search radar, and many other sensors to detect surface and underwater vessels. These will be immediately pressed into action. India has long-standing border dispute with China. India has good relations with Japan. In case of a Chinese attack on Japan, India is not expected to be a mute spectator. Japan's loss is India's loss, as both of them have China as common rival. Also, if China gets away with aggression against Japan, it will become more buoyant and create problems for India. India, USA and Japan share close strategic relation which can be judged by the following. 1. India is participating in Exercise Malabar, a trilateral naval exercise involving the United States and Japan. Originally a bilateral exercise between India and the US, Japan became a permanent partner in 2015. Despite the statement by a top US Navy officer that Malabar was not directly aimed at China, there is very little doubt about who is the target. The exercise is conducted only about 400 kilometers from the contested Senkaku Islands. Scenarios include hunting for Chinese submarines, ships and countering hostile Chinese Navy. 2. India and the United States have agreed in principle to share military logistics. Washington and New Delhi have largely agreed to the terms of a new agreement that allows the two militaries to use each other's land, air and naval bases for resupplies, repair and rest. This has been specifically done, keeping China in mind. India will keep Chinese guessing about the future actions and take the following steps. 1. India will start providing intelligence to Japan and USA on Chinese movements. 2. India has one of the largest armies in the world. India will start mobilizing its troops near the Indo-China border to create pressure on China. 3. Defense Ministry has approved the induction of a 3rd Regiment of BrahMos for deployment in northeastern sector along the China border. The BrahMos is a ramjet supersonic cruise missile having a range of 290 kilometers. Each regiment of BrahMos consists of around 65 missiles, 5 mobile autonomous launchers and supporting equipment. India will activate the regiment for battle. 4. According to latest media reports, Defense Ministry has cleared the plan to raise 6 new armored regiments that will be equipped with roughly 350 tanks. In addition, 3 mechanized infantry battalions will be raised with 180 BMP-2 infantry combat vehicles. These will be put on alert. 5. India is buying the 155mm M777 guns at a cost of about $750 million from America's BAE Systems. The M777 howitzer is a towed 155mm artillery piece, is a successor to the M198 howitzer. It is manufactured by BAE Systems Global Combat Systems Division. This is first major buy for the Mountain Strike Corps. Note that, the Mountain Strike Corps has been specially raised to defend India's border with China. These guns will be set to fire-ready condition. Though Japan's military budget is about 1/4 compared to China, Japan's self-defense force is an efficient unit. It can drive the confrontation to a stalemate on its own. USA and India's actions will heavily tilt the balance against China. China also has dispute with all the neighboring country except Pakistan. Pakistan is expected not to intervene as it is dependent on USA for economic aid. Surrounded by rival nations like Vietnam and Philippines, China will find itself under immense pressure. It will understand that, it's a war it can't win but only lose. It will halt the campaign, and will have to agree to an unconditional ceasefire.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting. Kindly provide your feedback in the comment section, this will help us improve.